Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 47 of From the Van. It's a podcast from my van, where I have conversations with people who have relationships with residential vehicles. I'm your host, Marty Benson, and today's episode features Madelyn and Caleb. They're a super cute couple from Texas in a very cute van. In fact, if it weren't for Colette, I'd say that they're easily cuter than us. Their van is a 1993 diesel, four-wheel drive, steering wheel on the right side, Toyota Hiace, imported from Japan. Very special vehicle, unusual, and in a very interesting salmon-y, pinky sort of color. We had a great conversation about them sort of breaking out of the mold, trying to figure out exactly what they want to do, and very interestingly, sort of going where life guides them, as opposed to structuring things. It was a super cool conversation, and I think you'll enjoy it. Also, I just wanted to point a thing out. In the last 5 or 6 weeks, the podcast listenership has doubled, and that means a lot to me. I've been doing this thing for a long time, and I just do it because it's worth it to me. I haven't made a penny off of it, and it's fun for me. And so the fact that there are people out there who are interested or enjoying it or whatever, it really means a lot. So I hope that you enjoy episode 47 of From the Van, featuring Madelyn and Caleb. Let's get into it.
If it's colder here than in Texas, I have to go back.
Oh no.
Is that how it works?
Well, your jacket is fabulous.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, this is I'm gonna freeze or die if I don't wear it.
Colette
Nice.
just got a jacket that also looks like a bath mat.
Yeah, that's the only reason I can't wear it in public. Like, I can only wear it at night when people can't really see.
she literally
Doesn't stop her,
I
dude.
wear mine all the time.
Be yourself.
Okay, yeah, because whatever. No,
I
I'm
don't care.
always...
He's the only one that makes fun of me.
Well, somebody
And your
walked up
dad.
to me one time, and I was like, I rolled down the window, and seriously, they were like, "Oh, I like your robe," and I was sitting in there, and I was like,
Oh shit.
and I was like, "Oh my god, did they just shake
Nice
me?" It was awful. I was like, "All right, well,
You guys want a beer?
I'm okay."
I'll take one, sure.
Yeah, he'll drink mine for me.
Sweet. Yeah, hot bullet.
Hot bullet. Careful, it's kind of high octane.
All right.
High octane.
Yeah, it's sort of the Best Buy at the Vons, you know.
Sweet.
Yeah, we walked
cherish
into
it.
Vons and we were like, nah. We walked out because we were like, we compare prices because we try to like stay in a certain amount each week.
And we work that shipped stuff, so we know the prices.
We know the prices like everywhere of all places. So when we walk in, we're like, no, like that's like $2 more. That was like $3 more. Different things were like $2 and $3 more than every other grocery store we go to.
Oh,
So,
teach me. Where should I be shopping?
well, unfortunately, Winco is like the cheapest place.
Winco?
Winco, yeah.
Oh,
Winco.
I know those. They don't have them here though.
They're
There's
in
some
South.
Ricks.
They're in
There's some
South
south
San
of here.
Diego.
But
Oh,
we
okay.
went there, and where we would normally spend $85 to $90, we spent $67.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's how much cheaper everything was.
Yeah,
So
Winco's
it was pretty
awesome.
crazy. Yeah, we just found it. Our friends told us about it.
It's kind of like a
We're
weird Walmart, like
They have
Sam's
some bulk
mixture.
stuff that you can buy, like bulk nuts and like a big aisle, that kind of stuff. So that's pretty cool too.
Mhm.
Yeah, but they have normal everything else.
Well, talk to me about all the other places, dude. Like, what's up with Trader Joe's? What's up with Aldi? Which I think are owned by the
I-
same companies.
Hate Aldi.
Okay.
I haven't been, so I don't.
It's
get that.
weird.
It's weird.
It's like-
and when I walked,
yeah.
it's like, okay, it reminds me of what just happened to us the other day. We made these like quesadillas, and Caleb had the bright idea. He was like, no. He was like, we're not gonna buy the raw chicken and have like raw chicken in the van because we'll like always put it in the plastic bag, tie it up.
I was
so
just
until
trying to
we use
save
it.
a few steps.
And
you
so
know?
he was like, oh, it's already cooked. Like, let's just get it. And I was like, oh, okay.
So
And I
just warm it
trusted it. And let me tell you why. Because I looked on where it was and it was made in Texas. And I was like, oh, it can't be that bad. No, I was so disappointed. Y'all, we cooked the quesadillas. And don't get me wrong, I still ate the quesadilla. I'm not going to lie. But it was like a low of lows. Pull the bag, you know, you like rip it open and dump it and then you like can warm it up or whatever. And when I looked in the bottom of the bag, there was still a piece, and I dump it out, and it was like had fat on it, so I pulled it off. And when I looked at it, it was like the skin, the casing or whatever that was on the chicken, and it was like the grill marks. And I looked at it. It was printed on me. I was so disgusted. I was like,
Isn't that weird?
Gnarly.
oh, I could not believe
Gnarly.
that. I
They
was
cook
like,
it, and then some
"Yes."
poor bastard with a Sharpie is like,
They're like, get your line straighter.
No, this is what I imagine. It's like bulk meat on a huge, and it's just like slice, and he's like,
this giant factory.
stamp.
He's like spraying.
Oh yeah.
And it just goes by.
Oh my God.
He lost his job at the like the tourist airbrush T-shirt thing. Now he's doing extruded meat product or whatever.
So funny. Oh my god.
What about Trader Joe's?
Okay, I don't know about Trader Joe's. I hear mixed things. I
We
haven't
haven't
been
done that
there.
one yet.
You haven't been to Trader
We've
Joe's.
been, but
But
we
here's
haven't.
why. We typically, we only go to, if we're gonna get, organic produce or anything like that, we'll just go to, a farmer's market, not a grocery store, because they're gonna upcharge so much, or you can just pay that money to the person who actually grew it. I think a better option. But also, all the organic stores upcharge you on things that aren't organic also.
Anyway.
Yeah. So it's just I'm either gonna get, all my stuff at this one place, or I'm only gonna get a few things from
But
here.
you
and
gotta
then
watch
still
your
have to go to
farmer's
another
market
place.
too. 'Cause
Yeah,
sometimes
true.
You gotta make sure whatever it
Who
is you're
knows?
getting, make sure it's in season in that area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them, they're just doing the same thing the other stores are doing. Which,
How long have you guys been in California?
We've been in California before, but this time around, I think, coming close on 2
Almost
weeks.
2 weeks,
Yeah.
Okay.
A week and a half.
yeah, we just came here for the meetup.
Okay.
San
Yeah,
Diego
and
Van Life
then
meetup.
because of Tiny Fest, we just decided to stay in Southern California until that happens.
For a
at
bit.
least.
The thing that broke my brain, because I've been living in Southern California since 2003. The thing that broke my brain when I moved out here is that, growing up in South Carolina, in July and August, September, we would get the best tomato I've ever had in my life. And every other time of the year, it's this mealy, flavorless garbage. And in California, and I think, I'm also dating myself, but I think growing up in the 80s and 90s, shipment of produce wasn't the same as it is today
yeah.
also.
True.
And so between that and also moving to California, at the tail end of the 90s or whatever, you can get great produce year round of pretty much any seasonal item and stuff.
Except oranges. Oranges are, I think the mandarin oranges are not good out of season. Actually, but Trader Joe's apparently has some that taste good. This is what happened. But
I find that I have to go, I buy certain things at Vons. I buy certain things at Trader Joe's.
Yeah,
And
you just
then-
kind of pick and choose what you want to buy.
All of those upcharge organic stores, Whole Foods, Lazy Acres, which you have in town here, they don't, for some reason, they don't inflate the prices on beer, but they have,
Yeah, that's what I've
a
noticed
gourmet
at Vons
selection.
too. Yeah.
and the selection at Lazy Acres is probably
Real good.
5 times as expansive as Vons even.
wow.
And the beer there is, you're buying nicer beer, so it's a little more expensive, but it's comparable to the prices that you would be paying at
Right.
Vons or somewhere, or a liquor store or whatever. Yeah. Wow, I didn't know that you guys were, that's penny. Do you have a fridge in your van?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
We got
What is
the we did the Max Burton. So
Okay.
it used to be an Amazon off brand
Uh-huh.
for the fridges, but yeah, it works just as good. But the only thing is that they don't make them anymore. So if anything happens to this one, I guess we're just gonna have to
You're done.
upgrade. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it a top loader?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
chest
It's similar to
It's
the
a 40. I
Domestic.
think it's 40 quart. Yeah, isn't it 40 quart?
I have no idea. It's
think so,
large.
but-
It holds about a week's worth of groceries for us.
Okay.
Combined with our 2 little things for our pantry, the fridge is 1 solid week. About.
And it'll get down. It'll get down. You can either use it as a freezer or a fridge.
Right.
So it's either or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It works for us.
That's the same as ours, but we never use it
Where's
as a freezer
yours at?
because right here.
Oh, sick.
And just put it in this
The
little sleeve.
armrest / fridge.
Yeah.
Multi-use as
Yeah.
most things in the van.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Extra counter space, all that good stuff.
I think you guys are probably in a smaller van than us.
Yeah.
Little bit.
Yeah, totally.
And that's a thing that we spent like 3 hours at IKEA today trying to figure out what to
Just, like,
do in the new
thinking.
van, because you want to get the easiest, fastest thing that's going to actually stay together. But if something's not to my exact specifications, I'd rather just build it because I can make the perfect use of the space.
Right.
You don't have that problem when you're talking about your den that you don't go into because you spend all your time in your living room.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's a
giant
200
space that you
square
can
foot whatever.
Space,
Yeah.
that you're not taking advantage of. But in
Yeah.
the van, it's like every little.
The van's like the true
space,
epitome. It's like the true essence of like clutter, like organized clutter,
Right?
Because everything is right next to each other and stacked up perfectly, but it does have a spot. So
It teaches you about order too, though, because like the van is borderline immaculate right now, and it still feels messy to me. Right? Like your tolerance for shit on the counter
you're right.
goes way down when you live in such a small
Like,
space.
what the heck? You didn't sweep today. And it's like 2 sweeps literally in the
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
Easiest sweeping ever.
Right.
Yeah. But you also have to do it 4 times
All
a
the
day.
time, yeah.
Because every footprint goes right there.
I made the comment of like, I don't know how often, I don't know how often people are like sweeping their house, but I really don't feel like it's every single
It can't
day.
be enough. It can't be
So it
enough
can't be
for how
enough
much
because
dirt they're bringing
multiple people, like this is only 2 people going in and out of one small space, and we're like multiple times a day sweeping it. So people in a house, like, do you think that they really sweep enough with multiple people coming into one house, and it's spread out so you can't really see it as much as the little tiny area?
That's the thing. It's just spread out, and then they don't have to look at it or
It's
think
so
about
gross,
it as much
though.
as we do.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
like it's like hanging out around. All the dirt.
I can't remember where I heard this or what exactly the statistic was, but I'm so grossed out by carpet these days. And it was
just
like,
the fact that things sit.
it's like
and
after
fester.
a while, because the vacuum doesn't get it all
Yeah,
up.
there's
Like,
no way.
It was something like
the vacuum's probably a scam, and it doesn't really get even half
Right,
of it up.
Yeah. It can't pick through there, and
How
so
would we know?
like there's just pounds of like dead skin and sneezes and garbage or whatever in every square foot of carpet in a house. Yeah, it's super gross. All right, so let's go back to the beginning. Madelyn and Caleb, you guys have probably, I was telling my buddy Jeremy about your van earlier. You guys have one of the most interesting vans that I've seen.
That's a compliment.
It's special, dude.
Yeah.
What is it?
So we have a 1993 Toyota Hiace.
Okay.
And it's imported from Japan.
Okay.
4-wheel drive, turbo diesel engine. So it gets us where we want to go.
Yeah, way out. But definitely get that comment a lot of when people see it, they're like, I've never seen this before.
Uh-huh.
And it's something that, like, this van just turned 26 this year. So, like, or I guess it will be turning 27 this year. So last year was technically the first year they were legally able to come into America.
Yeah.
Really?
So
So
that's like,
it really
we're seeing
is,
Japanese
like,
technology from
25 years ago. That's just now legally able to come over here. And so people really may have never seen this in their whole life.
Sure.
So, like, we go down the road and we always are like, I wonder, because the only people who have seen them usually are people who were in the military in Japan.
Yeah,
And
better.
they're like, oh yeah, I saw them, or they were taxis or chauffeurs or whatever. Because in Japan you don't need a car that big. So most of these vans are used as chauffeur vans.
Yeah.
How did you get it?
We found it on a Facebook marketplace ad.
We
which
had
was
been
really
searching
weird.
for all kinds of stuff. Like, we were pretty open to anything.
Uh-huh.
And we looked at buses, like short buses, all kinds of just different things. But we just wanted something a little more vintage, but not so vintage that it was just like total crap and
A
wouldn't,
total, like,
a
rust
huge
budget.
project. And so we ended up finding that, and it just like looked unique and everything.
It just felt right as soon as we saw it. And the biggest thing for us was, like, somebody just asked us, they were like, how long before, like, when y'all decided y'all wanted to do van life before y'all actually started the process? And it was 2 weeks. Like, we literally were like,
Wow.
we're for sure gonna do this. Like, let's do it. And then 2 weeks later, we had our van. But it was like, we were just really amped up. Like, we just need to do it. Like, stop talking about it. Like, just buy it. And so I think, like, we had gone for 2 days in a row looking at buses and all these different things. And it was like, this is a total bummer. Like, nothing felt right.
Yeah.
Nothing was good. And I think we wanted way more space than we ended up, like, really realizing that we needed. So when we saw this, we were like, oh my gosh, it's tiny. And it was totally opposite than anything we had looked at all. But we were like, nah, this is
It's like
it,
the
though.
smallest thing. We didn't want to go super tiny.
Yeah.
We were
but-
like, it's nice.
Yeah, but it ended up happening and luckily worked out best.
How long have you been in it? When'd you get it?
We got it a year ago, and then we've been living in it for 6 months. So
Okay.
about 6 months of just like getting the outer body work done, like getting a new engine in it, and then we did the conversion ourselves. So we built that out in 8 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
How'd it come?
What do you mean?
And on the inside?
Oh,
Like, what
so,
was it just benches for a people mover or
yeah,
whatever?
so originally it had 3 rows of benches in it, right?
Yeah.
3 rows of benches, and we ended up gutting the whole thing.
Mhm.
Well, 3 in total, like first, and then and then the second row actually like turned all the way around, so that it was like dining setup. Like,
Oh,
you could
that's
turn
cool.
the seats and face each other, but obviously like it was not gonna work for
Right.
us. But it was super cool. Like,
We
to
got
do
it while we were still living in the apartment, and so we were gutting all that out in the parking lot of the apartment. And so that was like our first time to experience people coming up, and people were already talking to us because they saw the right-hand drive, but it was gold at the time. Like it
was
rusty,
blended in more. You
Okay.
know?
Yeah, it looked a lot less nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was kind of our first experience with that in the apartment.
Yeah, for sure.
Getting to gut it out.
We did the same thing. I had an apartment and like with a parking space, and I actually hadn't had a car in a really long time, and so all of a sudden I've got this van and I'm just like making a
I got
mess.
kicked out of his parking spot. I was like, oh, perfect. I'm dating a guy who doesn't have a car, and I get his parking spot. And then he gets a van, and he's like, yeah, you park on the street now.
Dang.
Yeah, he was like, sorry, it's for the van.
I'm like, I gotta walk over now?
Oh.
Like, it's hard.
Yeah, you're so neglected.
I know.
Yeah, Caleb got rid of his like nice SUV
Oh, yeah.
to get the van, so it was like he
'Cause
had.
I was working full time before van life, and
Uh-huh.
so I had like already had all my toys and everything, and that was like my last one is my off-roading machine. But yeah, got rid of that for the
traded the
for the
van.
van.
So yeah, where were
girl.
you guys before? What did your life look like before the 2 weeks before you got the van? Before you started deciding that you were going to do this?
Well, we had met like 3 months before.
Yeah, we met 3 months before we got the van. Yeah, and then we got engaged.
Well, no, I had met. We say met, but we had known
we
each
knew
other
each
for
other
about
for
a
like
year.
a year.
Okay.
And then, but just like really
In
never
different
hung out or
lives,
anything.
though.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but before like we got together to do van life, I just worked at a welcome center of the city that I lived in, which was Denton, Texas.
Yeah.
So I worked there, and it was like right downtown, and I lived right downtown. So I would just like ride my bike to work, and it was just like sweet. But I was just like so bored. I
Yeah.
was like, it's a great setup. It was a great place, but it was just like I wanted something different, you know. And I was tired of seeing the same old place. And the way we actually like met and ended up dating was camping. So we like met on camping trips and would like go different places. And we lived like 5.5 hours apart. So
We didn't at first though, because we had met originally in college, and so
Okay.
but we didn't. We were doing like, well, she ended up moving away to Northeast Texas, and so I was still down in Southeast Texas. But it was weird because then we ended up dating, and
after the fact,
after that, and so she was already moved away. But
but then he was working. You can tell him what you were doing.
yeah, so I was working in the refineries in Southeast Texas.
Okay.
And so, like, anytime I would get any time off, I would go out, go travel, or go off-roading in 4Runner. But same thing is it just got so monotonous, and I was just same thing over and over every single day, and ended up mostly just falling for her, and ended up moving to Northeast Texas, and quit that job, and we'd started the Patchwork Canteen, and we just focused on that, and this is kind of what it's evolved into and brought us to now. So it's pretty neat. Come a long way.
When you say Northeast Texas, you talking about like up in like middle Louisiana area?
No, it's in like Dallas, Texas area.
Oh, okay. I think of
Well,
that. I
yeah,
thought of that
North
as
Texas.
central. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we just call him North. He's from Northeast Texas, which is actually east. It's like Texas.
It's a little further. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
He's from there, and they always say Dallas. I'm like, that's North Texas.
It's
So
like the
I'm
closest
from
big
west
town
of
to where
Dallas.
we're at. So.
Is that where
I was-
Denton is?
Yeah,
Over there?
Denton is
Okay.
west of Dallas, so it's like the Golden Triangle is Dallas, Fort Worth, and Denton. Is
Right,
up north
right.
from
Oh,
there.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Have you taken the Hiace like off road much?
Yeah.
You've done.
Oh yeah, some crazy stuff.
Yeah, we've we mostly stick to like old lumber roads or like forest roads that just go out pretty deep, and sometimes they turn into crazy stuff. And we end up,
Do not.
we don't usually like, hey, let's go do this. It winds up that way because we're like, oh, we got 4-wheel drive. Let's
go.
it up.
Yeah.
Let's go.
But it's good because
You just get out there and you're like, I think we can keep going.
Yeah.
It's really powerful, the van is, and it's like, we've been in some really sketchy situations where I was like, I don't know, but because it's so skinny, well, it's tall,
It's like a
but
four-wheeler
it's so
almost.
skinny,
Mhm.
yeah, you can kind of like just stay like really close to an edge or anything
Right,
like that,
right.
and since
where
you're
all the
on
regular
right
ruts
side,
are, you can kind of avoid them.
Yeah.
Navigate them. Yeah.
and when you're on the right side, most of the time you're coming around, and if that's the ledge, you can literally see like your blind side is now like what you can actually see right out of the window.
Yeah.
So it's a weird experience
Yeah.
looking down. I think my favorite off-roading one that we did was in Wyoming, and it was like right across from the Tetons, and so we like went off, I don't know, like 12 to 16, somewhere around there, miles off, like just backcountry driving, and it turned out to be super crazy, like straight uphill, like loose rocks, so you could just hear the rocks like going down behind us,
Oh,
like
shit.
as after
You're
we went
causing an avalanche.
Yeah.
it was like not even an avalanche, but just like the tires like throwing rocks down.
Oh,
you know?
wow.
It was crazy.
Wacky pants. That's awesome. How many miles do you have on that? I mean, you have a new engine, right? But like, what's the story on
So
the machine?
the van comes in kilometers since it's Japanese. So when we first bought it, it had like what 120,000 kilometers or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Which turned out to be like 100,000 miles.
Like 6/10.
Yeah. So, but then that engine went out, and then we bought another engine that had 100,000 on it, or 100,000 converted miles. So, yeah.
Now we're sitting about like 115,000 miles on the
Yeah.
engine,
Okay.
and about like 120 on the body of the van. So
Yeah.
it's not a huge difference because the
Right.
original motor was
Right.
almost
It's all
the
kind
same.
of the same age.
Because when we switched it, it was like almost the same exact miles that were on our van was on the new engine. So it kind of like evened out on the dash.
Hopefully we don't have to get any new ones.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. What's Patchwork Canteen?
So Patchwork Canteen, well, when we originally started, we were creating just, I would like to say, creative media to inspire people to get outdoors. Because we were two people who had jobs that like allowed us to get outdoors on a time schedule, but confined us inside all the time when we were at work. So we were like, how can we...
More of like a caged bird.
Yeah. we were working jobs that paid all of our bills and everything, but we were like trying to vacation from that life to camp and be like really simple. So we were like, wait a minute, like this is actually way cheaper lifestyle, and that's what we really want to do. So we were like trying to figure out how to kind of like turn that around. Like, hey, let's not work the job that I make X amount of dollars, but I could sacrifice that and start something of my own that can be long term. So when we started, it mainly was just like we wanted to eventually lead up to having a van festival, like where people get together and there's community, and that's what inspired us to like get out and travel more. So it was all about community and having people outdoors with us. And so we went on trips with friends and like gathered people together. And then I always say, I think like one of me and Caleb's like favorite gifts that we have is like just being able to meet somebody and talk to them and become friends and just like, you know, connect with people. So that's what overall the first year that we had Patchwork Canteen was just about branding and just like getting out and learning about van life and it being our experience now and not just our dream, you know?
Right.
And then after our first year, it was like, okay, then we're gonna initiate.
And just learning about the
business.
community too, and like what it is that the people want, and like what is everybody actually searching for, and like,
Yeah, like
the
trying to
people that
find the
even
missing
get
link.
into van life, like, you know, everyone gets in it for some type of reason, and then you find out the real reason later on, or what the reason maybe that you're staying in van life, and or maybe a reason you want to leave it. I don't know. You learn all kinds of things, but it's neat to have been able to experience that. But yeah.
So what we ended up doing is we really loved photography. We really loved just like learning new skills with computers, because we were like, the more we can teach ourselves, the more skills we can have, the easier it will be to sustain ourselves, like regardless of what work we needed to do on the road. And so we just did everything that we had to do to be able to travel and stay and keep moving, because we didn't want to stop moving. So we were like, what can we do to make that work? So just content creation 24/7. Like, we're just going to be consistent and post about our journey, and then hope that like eventually that works out for us to be able to do what we want to do with it. And so just showing people kind of this, what we've done with the van. And then like, you know, we didn't do the in-depth of like, hey, this is a build, this is like technical and everything like that. It was more like, hey, this was a dream that we had, and we're 21 and 23, like, people will tell you can't, but we just did it. Like, you can do it.
That's the
and
biggest thing of like
us.
What is it that you want to do, and like how are you going to do that, and what are you going to do to fulfill those dreams? And because, well, I know a lot of people aren't doing that, but we want to be there to show you that, hey, you can do that, and it's really not that hard if you just, you know, you got to cut strings and make sacrifices and stuff every now and then, but in the end it really is possible. You know, when we started off van life, we had I had retired from my previous job, and so I had some money from that, dumped it all back into the van, and then, all right, time to hit the road. And we had like $1,000. And you know, people are always like, well, how do you make money to travel, or how do you have that much money to travel all the time? But really, it's just about picking your priorities, you know, because my priority was like, all right, I got $1,000. Well, that's enough gas in the tank to get me to where I'm going, and then we'll figure it out from there.
Get some money.
Money's out there. You know, it's just like, how do you want to make it? How do you want to invest the time to make it? So it's, you know, that's not a big deal. Make it that priority, and you can really get out there and get it done.
And on the same note, it was like, we didn't want to. Like, we wanted Patchwork Canteen to be something that we just were able to, like, it could be creative. It could be, like, anything that we were doing or experiencing, or talents that we wanted to exercise. And then it was, like, not something that we felt like we needed to sell anything or, like, do anything, because we were so minimal. And, like, we even, like, I do digital art and everything, and we were, like, thinking about doing all these different things to try to, like, help sustain us. And then we were like, okay, wait, though. Like, is this something, like, that I would actually buy? And if it's not, then I don't feel comfortable, like, making that a product that we sell. Yeah, like, hey, we're awesome and you love watching our Instagram, but
it's like, what can we really give to people?
Or buy. So we were just, like, really trying to figure it out. So we decided, we were like, it's just going to be for fun. Like, it's just going to be creative, and it's just going to be, like, what we want to make it, not get serious about it. Like, just do it.
And to stay true to that, to the brand itself, and to not, like, you know, if people reach out to us and maybe their company isn't everything that we stand for, or whatever, maybe we just end up talking to someone, we don't get good feelings about it, and we can back out of anything, and we make it known that, you know, that's okay, because that's the brand that we're creating is something we want to, it was something that we want to create that lasts long term, and that, you know, some of these people out here, it might not be something that they're truly passionate about. You know, it could be just like a quick thing, or like a way to make money. And you got to watch out for that, because those type of people take advantage. But, you know, there's people out there doing it the right way too.
Yeah, and that's what we were trying to do, is just, like, long term set it up to where, hey, we just work for ourselves, and, like, we're our own boss, we make our own money, but we can invest our time and energy into what we love.
Because everybody's in a hurry. Everybody's in a hurry trying to do it fast. But, you know, we're already, everybody's pretty young doing this anyway. But, you know, we got our whole lives. You know, we still got.
They are and they aren't, actually. I mean, God, there are 1,000 things, but I'm super interested in. I know a bunch of dudes who are, like, either just beyond or right on the cusp of Social Security and Medicare, who have moved into vans. And I'm super curious about that. I'm super curious about people who are coming out of van life. Those are some of my favorite stories of people who are like, you know, you talk about compromises. You have to do compromises. You have to make compromises to live in a space this small.
Right.
But I feel like there are so many embedded compromises in standard way of conducting business that people don't even perceive as compromises. You know what I mean? Like, if you have to go to a place at 8 o'clock in the morning and stay there until 5 o'clock in the morning and abide by the rules that are set by some person that you don't really respect, that's a huge compromise for your day-to-day life, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
And people go, oh, there's not a toilet? You have to go to the gym? And it's like, well, yeah, okay, but
It's back to that priority thing.
at 10 a.m., I'm staring at the skyline, watching a dolphin or whatever.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I already went to the Planet
You're
Fitness
like
bathroom.
practicing your
I have to
dolphin
pay
call.
HOA fees.
I have to
Yeah.
pay HOA fees. Yeah.
You don't have to have a lawn to
I
mow
bought this
anymore.
house so I can pay rent to the
Yeah.
HOA. Some of us are young, some of us are older, and some of us
Maybe
are
I get
legit
confused by the young spirit.
old.
Maybe that's
yeah,
what it is.
yeah. That's sort of the deal. So we were talking earlier about dog walking in San Francisco.
Yeah.
I'm super curious about your sort of attitude about, like, I got money to get there, I'll get money when I get there. What have you guys done in order to make ends meet? You know,
Yeah.
I like love the idea
So
that you were like, I don't know San Francisco, but I'm going over here and I'll walk your dog. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we pick up just like any type of hustles that we can that are on our time and can allow us to still work on Patchwork Canteen when we want.
Right.
And also
Us.
not be something that we hate.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
that's the, we're not going to do
tied
anything
down
that we
to
just hate.
or tied down to one specific spot. So any job that's available with those criteria, then we'll take that.
Mhm.
But yeah, so we've done dog walking. We walk dogs all along the West Coast, all the way
Okay.
down. That's how we survived the West Coast. And then we delivered people's groceries. Did a lot of different apps online
Mhm.
doing that. We would pick up different media gigs, so I might make a video for someone or might do like a photography edit or something like that. You know, anything that's digital, and then
Random art
yeah.
commissions.
Digital
like,
and
so many
practical,
things.
I guess, is the jobs you should look for.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I would tell people that. That's all you're gonna get. I mean, that's all that's out there.
And mainly we just, like, pretty much looked at everything that we did know how to do and, like, try to utilize that in any sort of way to make us money. So
Yeah.
it was like, I know how to develop websites. So it was like, well, maybe we can do this. And then it was like, oh, I can do digital art and graphic design. So we'll just pick up this little gig. So it was
Mhm.
kind of like a piece, like, patchwork.
Yeah.
A patchwork of things that, like, went into it. And then the whole time, like, building up, like, how we've been able to leverage our Instagram is not through sales through that, but it was through brands or companies trusting us, like, oh wait, you actually are very consistent and you're posting and you get good engagement and you're just a person. So I can't imagine what you can do for my business, right?
Mhm.
So they would, you know, kind of like pick us up and then we'd get clients and then over time it was like, okay, wait, you know, it's like actually not that bad because we can just do a little bit of work on the computer and then it's this. So we kind of set it up like Instagram kind of let it into like, hey, we have a portfolio per se.
Mhm.
And it was like not of sales, of just like consistent content and consistent like engagement and talking to people and befriending people and it's just constant. And so they saw that and wanted that energy in their company. And then that's where we came in of like a little bit of content creation for them and just running their social medias. And then that in turn was a monthly paycheck.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then, you know, we became the digital nomad in that sense. So that was, you know, the cool thing
Yeah.
of not having to be monetizing our Instagram, but being able to use it, like I said, as a portfolio to
Right.
get the trust
Do
of
others,
these
yeah.
companies. Yeah.
And it's cool too. We can do, I mean, we did all kinds of other, like, for over the Christmas break, we made Christmas cookie kits.
Yeah. Just sold them online. Like,
Yeah. We went back home to visit family and my sister she's a little hustler too. And so she was like, yeah, I'm making these cookie kits, $20 each. And it's literally just, you make the cookies out of what kind of dough
it's
is
like
it?
rollout dough, you know,
Yeah.
like your typical.
Like,
like-
you roll them out, you put the cookie cutters in there and then you put all the icing in bags and stuff. And then everybody else decorates it. Yeah, it's like a kid's thing. So
it's like a game or like a fun activity.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So that's like her hustle is trying to establish a bakery in her town and everything. So she's like, help me do this. So we're like, whatever. We're like Christmas elves. It's
but
awesome.
like in her apartment kitchen, we made like hundreds of cookies.
Yeah, like 700
It did awesome.
cookies.
We were moving
Moving
Christmas
those
cookies.
So I mean, it's all about like how open-minded you are, and
Yeah.
honestly, like a big thing is how humble you are. Like you have to realize that we used to both have respectful, or I put that in quotes, but jobs that people would be like, oh, that's great, you know.
Yeah.
And now it's like sometimes we do random stuff.
Now
and it's
paint walls for hours.
walls or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's just like those small things, and you just have to realize like it's just one day. Of
And that's
your
not
life.
forever. Like, what are you working up to? That's what you got to decide.
Yeah.
You know? This is
And
just
as
to
long
get
as
me
you-
by for now.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a really important thing that so many people gloss over in the same respect as we see this as a compromise and we don't see this as a compromise. Is it like, if you're too good for such and such job, how many people are you judging? Right? If you can't paint a wall, if you can't mop a floor, then what percentage of the American public are you condescending to?
Right.
You
And
know?
they don't even realize.
And like, I feel like, especially when you keep the overhead low, you can get by doing these jobs that are not a living wage
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
by traditional standards. Right.
Right. And that's exactly right, because traditional standards, because in the van, your whole life, I mean, you know, it completely changes. Like your budget,
way different.
you spend money on different things now. Like,
You don't want to spend money because I'm such a cheap tightwad now. I'm like, there's no reason to spend money. I'm like, we can have so much fun and spend no money.
Right.
yeah,
You know,
like
going
our
out,
favorite
I'm like,
places.
I don't need to go out anymore. You buy a case of beer or whatever.
Hang out by the
Yeah.
fire
Good
with
for-
your friends.
right.
Like we have so many van friends now, and it's literally our joke that now that I say 9 o'clock, they say 8 o'clock, is van life midnight. So 8 o'clock, and we're all like, all right.
Yeah, dude, see you later.
See ya. So it's like, so we're like, that's our pace, you know.
But
Uh-huh.
you can go hang out with friends on the beach at multiple beaches or multiple gorgeous places
Mhm.
and
In multiple
you can-
states.
no cost at all.
It's just not. Yeah.
So now it's like
And
we go
kinda-
back to our hometowns and everybody's like, let's go out to eat or let's go do this. It's like, man.
Constantly spend money.
Yeah.
But the other thing too is like, when we look at the price of something, we're kind of like, for that much money, I could go X amount of miles.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, you look at something and you're like, oh, like we were really looking at these water bottles and we're like $45. Like what? You're like, that's half a week of groceries.
It's a full
you know?
tank.
Yeah, like it's a full tank.
Or 300-400 miles or whatever.
Right,
Man.
exactly. And so it's like really weird. And then of course that dividend came in clutch, so we got the cut. But regardless, it's just like you look at it that way, like what could I have done with this money? And I think that a lot of times, like when I had my old job, I would go like thrift shopping all the time or whatever, and it didn't seem that bad because it was like small amounts, you know,
Mhm.
but it was consistent, so it adds up.
Mhm.
And like with the van, you know that, like you know, if I spent $5 on
It
this,
forces
like
you to budget.
yeah, it forces you to budget because you're like, wait, I spend this much money on that,
Because
and
where
I
are you
only
going to
spend
go?
this
If
much
you
on
run out of
this.
money in the van, you're all right, well, this is home, I guess.
Park.
Yeah.
So it does.
Yeah.
It really helps.
But I think it honestly made me value, like, not necessarily value money, but like to value the fact of having it at all, because like, you know, we're able to just work and hustle, and I think that's because of the internet mainly is the whole reason that we're able to do van life. But you know, like a lot of people didn't have that option before.
Sure.
And they wanted to do van life, and maybe they were a musician or whatever, and they didn't have the internet. So I feel like super lucky to have that resource, because with us, it's like, we're able to do
Should
anything.
take full advantage.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
like-
so much money on the internet for you to be able to make any income. It shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
some type of way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of
It's
just
really
like a
can.
thing of you just have to trust. I think like one of my biggest, like, I guess mantras or whatever is just like kind of trust the journey. Like if you're doing what you're supposed to do and you're getting your work done and you're paying your bills, you know, like you're not,
There you go.
there you go. Like just be consistent, you know, and trust like where you're going is right.
Yeah, you're doing good.
So it definitely.
So we're talking, we're in a space at this point of like iconoclasm, right? like this is a off the beaten path sort of process that we're all in, and I assume that your friends and family are like not in it too. And so my question is like, there's a stigma. You know what I mean? You live in a van. Are you homeless? Are you a dirtbag? You know what I mean? Like, are you a freeloader? What's the deal? How have your close circle of non-van loved ones reacted to this whole thing? What's the process been there?
Well, it's totally different, so I guess I'll do my part and then you do yours. But, like, I think with my family, I was always very, like, stubborn. Like, I always did what they asked. I was very respectful. But at the same time, I drew the line. I'd be like, no, I can't. This is, like, I have to draw the line here. So I always told them I was going to do van life. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it one day. And they're like, oh, no, don't do it.
You knew it before you met him?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Totally. Him
Did
too.
you?
Yeah, him too. So we both had been like previously interested in it. So I think just the fact of my parents kind of having like the previous knowledge that I was thinking about it.
Yeah.
It wasn't a surprise at all. Like
it didn't like break their brains.
Yeah, it wasn't like
Yeah,
right. It softened the blow for sure. And I don't think that they were like necessarily even like, oh, this is a bad thing. It was just like
they've been preparing for it.
maybe a little bit, yeah.
Or you had been preparing them for it.
I had been trying to prepare them for it. But I think it was more so just of like something that, and this is a common thing I think with anything that people don't really understand. I think it's just that fear of the unknown. Yeah. So my family, they presented a lot of fears. And a lot of things that like, that they would be scared of or problems. And it was all these negative things that they presented me in the choice of like telling them. And it was like I said, not bad. It was just worry. And it came from a place of like, I don't know if that's safe or whatever. And like I said, it's just, they don't know. They don't understand. And I really don't think until someone like either stays in a van and like hangs out with some other people and like spends like a hardcore week that they can even get.
I still don't understand.
Yeah, it's like it's like something that you really have to like totally consume yourself in before you're like, oh wait, I get it now. Because what I see is a community of people who are hustling. Like constantly you see you're making the podcast and this guy's doing his video and this guy's going live right now and this one has a photo shoot.
And it's dope because it's all for one thing. Like,
yeah,
it's for people to stay on the road. Like, keep going.
Yeah, and like to keep doing
awesome.
that. And so it's like, it's funny because like you said, that stigma of like, oh, you're lazy or you're homeless or whatever, it's so wrong. In most of the cases that we've seen, it's just like, no, they're busting their butt to like do whatever they need to like travel or to make their podcast or to make their YouTube channel. And they're doing anything to make that work. So
or just even if they're just chasing a dream, like, that's cool too. You don't have to, if you don't have to go and get any job if you don't want, but if you've got some type of mission, maybe it's to make a big giant circle around the U.S. Well, congrats. Like, let's do it. What can you do to make that happen?
And one big thing that I learned out of all this from like family, friends, living in the van in general, like everything, was that at first people want very solidified answers about everything in life. Like they want you to tell them that at 35 you're going to have a child or that at this time you're going to do this. Like they want to know because they can't imagine like not having that schedule of like at this time or this year I do this or that. And so it's like this new way of, it's like I'm not telling everyone exactly this plan and they can't see it because they imagine these steps and I'm on these steps over here. So it's like remembering, it's just remembering like, I don't need a solidified answer to tell someone like, oh, what are you doing after van life? I'm like, I don't know. And at first we like, the common question we got was like, where are you going? And we had no idea, no idea. But we just like randomly were like, Washington. Like we would just say it. Like, we just kept saying it because we were like, whatever, like they want an answer, we're going to give them one. And I think like in a way it kind of like hindered us because then learning now it was like, I don't need to give somebody that, my family even, that solidified answer. Like, they just need to trust me that I'm doing the right thing. And so I realized, like, I did hinder myself by giving all these solidified answers. Like, 2 years in the van. Oh, this. Like, we had very set, like, plans. And then we got in the van and we were like, wait a minute. Like, this is so wrong.
Well, because life I mean, all of a sudden it's like life is going to throw you so many crazy things. And in the van, if you're constantly moving, you're going to meet new people, new opportunities are going to happen.
Yeah, dude.
You have to be flexible.
Yeah, you have to be. And if you are flexible
You
and
get to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you can allow that to happen, then anything is possible beyond that.
And I think back to the whole family thing, like they're starting to get that because they see when we visited, you know, back for the holidays, it was like there's just an obvious like happiness about people who are pursuing things that they are truly passionate about, you know, like.
Did you drive home?
Yeah, we drove home.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. We drove home for the holidays, spent some time with like all different sections of our family. And definitely like it's funny because I think my family probably would be more vocal or like say things or like ask questions or whatever. But Caleb's family is like so understanding about it. Like I'm sure what parent really truly is super excited about their children living in a van? Probably not a lot, but like they're just really supportive and super nice about it and just ask questions, you know, like it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Which at first it was kind of strange for my family because I was leaving a 6-figure job to. First, it was just to move to Denton to live and grow the business, right? So it was.
That was the solidified answer, right?
Yeah, that's the thing that you tell them that maybe will happen. I don't know, but so I told them that, and they're like, all right. And then by the end, I was like, hey, I bought a van, and I was like, you know, we're traveling a lot. We're doing this traveling business. It makes more sense for us to just stay on the road and get more content. And so they were like, all right, you got to stay on the road. I was like, yeah, it's a work truck, basically. Like, you know? And so they kind of warmed up to it that way. But then over time, it was more of like, oh, this isn't just like a
project
fun trip.
or a road trip. Like.
It's a little more serious. And even now, like, my family, they'll still ask questions. Sometimes they're like, so when are you going to get a 9-to-5 job? And I was like, wait, we're over that. I thought
you understood.
I made that clearer. But yeah, you know, my dad's an entrepreneur, so he understands, you know, taking a risk and going for it. But his big thing is just don't give up. So if you're gonna start it, then you gotta, you know, go all the way.
Keep at it.
Yeah. But you know, it's different with friends, and it's something we've been dealing with here lately, just because I guess we've been gone long enough for our friends to really start to notice. But even since before and working on the van, we just were a little bit distant from our friends because you're just working hard. And so,
I mean, you like don't even know what day it is because you're like hammering away or like whatever.
Like,
you know,
a year's
you know.
already passed and it feels like a few weeks to me, you know?
I feel you.
But, you know, they had been reaching out and they were like, it's just a little bit different, on the
when
road.
you leave and
now,
they didn't.
now
Like
it's
basically bottom line,
yeah.
like when people leave and other people are still in the same spot, like things change and there's this weird like growing pain of like, hey, I'm on the road, but like we're still friends and like there's still this connection.
But it's
here.
like, how do you
It's just
have
not the
friends
same.
on the road, right? Because what is it? It's like, then it comes down to what's the definition of a true friend? Is a friend someone who can be there for you in person and like, hey, I got your back, you got mine. But I can't necessarily do that when I'm 2,000 miles away.
Sure.
Yeah.
So-
I mean, emotionally, yeah, but only so much.
Yeah,
because
you know, I can call and talk to you on the phone, but if I haven't seen someone in 3 years, that's strange to me. You know, that's a long distance. You know, I'm your online therapist, is what it sounds like at this point. But no, it can be difficult in that way, and being able to like, because you meet people on the road, and usually they're pretty all right with you. You can meet and then
leave and not
leave
talk until the next time you see each other.
See you, dude.
and
Whenever I see you.
Exactly. And that's kind of a given, but trying to translate that back into our normal lives, that we used to have, it doesn't necessarily work the same way.
Yeah.
People do have a lot higher expectations, and maybe people need more, maybe they rely on other people more, in that type of society. I don't know.
Yeah.
Still something we're trying
and
to
I
figure
think
out.
boils back down to the same thing. It's just like they are kind of looking for like solid answers, and sometimes you visit them and they're like, when am I going to see you again? And you're like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
and
know.
they think
like,
that I don't know. I guess they think I don't know is I don't want to see you, or
uncaring.
yeah, uncaring. But it's like, man, I don't know if I'll even have $1. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I could have gone on off a rope swing and flown into the ocean. I don't know what's happening. You know, it really is a day by day.
I've always had such a weird attitude about allegiance and loyalty. I feel like unbridled, unconditional allegiance and loyalty are kind of not cool. You know what I mean? Like if my dad did some really terrible shit to somebody, I'd be pissed off at him.
Yeah.
And I should.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
right.
I love that fucking guy as much as anybody. But like, if he did something awful, I would need to reconsider the way that I feel about him. And I feel like, and this is one of those things that just like we constantly talk about on the podcast is like, some people want to take pictures, some people want to climb, and some people want to surf, and some people want to ride mountain bikes, and they're on the road for completely different reasons. But one of the things that I feel like is very common between people who are on the road, living in vans or whatever, is that they're just more malleable. And I feel like a good friend is a person who can be nice to anybody. You know what I mean? And like, again, people get stuck in these ruts and they don't perceive dependency as a compromise. You know?
Yeah.
You're making this compromise because you need to see the same people every day or whatever. And that's a really beautiful thing in this community that I feel like I've found. Like, Shane left the other day and like, I'm a little sad.
Right.
But I'll see him when I see
You'll
him.
see him again.
You know what I mean?
It's like more of a beautiful thing. Like
It's great.
I
Can't
value
wait to
the
see you and
friendships.
hear what your adventures
Yeah.
were next time you come
and
back
I can't
around.
wait to see him hang out with the people who aren't here
Yeah.
that I already know. You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Yeah.
I'm super stoked about that.
Yeah, it all links back up. It's really neat.
Yeah. Well, this isn't a conversation to have here, but I'll just throw this out there is like, I'm super interested in the real introverts because the four of us in this van, like we go into a bar and we're talking to everybody immediately, and you guys are the same way.
Yeah.
And I feel like that makes it easier in a way. But on the other hand, if you're a hermit, a van is a really great refuge too.
Right.
You know, if you're a
Right.
very introverted person and you don't need people around, this is a wonderful place for you
Get
to
away.
maintain your anonymity or whatever.
Right.
Let's go back to your van. What's in there now? What's the build? You told us about the fridge, but
Yeah,
like,
just
what else?
like-
I haven't been in there.
Oh yeah, we need to show you. So just kind of like what you were saying earlier about like if you go in to your space, like you can almost do it better than you could buy anything prefabbed.
Sure.
And that was kind of our case because we had really
Imagine walking into a dollhouse. That's
and then trying to like build little tiny things for that. So like it's funny because I think same thing. We spent like a lot of time on the first like 25% of our build, and then the other 75% we were like go because we finally like stopped caring.
I was trying to be go all the time because I was like, let's just throw a mattress in the back, hit the road, we'll call it good, baby. But
I was like, no, this is like, let's make it sustainable. Like, let's make it so we can do it long term. So we spent time on it. But basically, like, our requirements for the van was like a fixed bed because it's such a small space. We didn't want to have to like crawl in there, like, you know, with our hunched over and like move all of our stuff all the time. So for that space, we were like, okay, fixed bed, it's got to stay. And that would allow us to have that fixed storage under the bed. So flat bed at about halfway in the van, so you know, really small space. He can't
there's not
sit
enough.
up.
Yeah, there's not enough room to sit up in the bed. So
Unless you open the little moonroof and then you can sit up right there because your head goes in it a little
I
bit.
crawl.
That's
I get in
funny.
the bed to go to bed at night, and that's about it.
Or take
But-
naps. But other than
Sleep.
that, we built, so we already had our fridge. We already had a lot of the supplies, like, bought. And we were like, all right, yeah, we're going to use these to put in the van. So then it was kind of just like, okay, let's piece it together and figure out how it'll all work. So, like, we built a cabinet for the fridge that had storage around it for different, like, you know, cereal boxes or different things like that. And then we built a fixed water tank so that it would, you know, not take up more room that we would, like, have to be able to open something. Because that's the thing, like, we can't have any doors or anything like that.
Yeah.
Because it's so tiny, like, trying to open something, it's
All right,
just like,
get out
it'll
of the
take up
way.
half the van, you know? So it's like, all the shelves are kind of, like, open. Just cut open, you know, have, like, a little bit of a wall. And there's, like, plastic tubs in there. And we kind of just, like, had very organized, like, everything is in a certain area.
My favorite part of the van is outside of the
Yeah,
van.
right.
Like, I can sit in the doorway of the van. I like to hang out right there. And I like to hang out at the back of the
slider,
van.
you mean?
Yeah, where the sliding door is at. And then I like to hang out at the back of the van where we can, where, like, when I'm cooking. You know, it's nice when you have a bunch of people.
To this,
yeah, exactly. But inside of the van, that's not the place to hang out. It's the place to grab food and sleep.
Yeah. Except when we open the sunroof. If we open the sunroof, that's pretty cool because you can stand in the van and you can also like see out around, you know, and you're pretty high because this van sits like really high. Like we'll go by some of these jacked up trucks, you know, they're like have the little lift, and it's still taller. And we're like, what's up?
From the right side.
Yeah, they're like, wait a minute. Yeah.
You have a beautiful cat.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Nora
yes,
the Explorer.
I just posted on our Instagram story the other day because Nora actually was a rescue from a Waffle House dumpster. So I adopted her from a lady in my hometown that had like rescued her and had this whole little thing. So I adopted her and I brought her to my apartment and I realized that she loves bread. Which makes sense because she lived in the Waffle House dumpster, so she was eating toast and waffles and all kinds of stuff. So she loves
the carb
food.
Life.
Yeah, the carb life. And so at first I didn't realize, and like I would just leave my bread on the counter, my tortillas, and she would bust into that every single time. And like at first in the van, like she doesn't do it now for some reason. I think because she's fat and she's full. But she used to bust into all of our bread, all of our tortillas. It was like anything you would think of. Right before we did van life, I had a venison roast in our apartment. Nora grabs the roast out of the sink where I was thawing it out through the night because you have to like let it thaw out all night.
Yeah, sure.
And so I had a wooden cutting board over the sink. She got under it, and the wooden cutting board wasn't even moved. She got under it, got the roast out, brought it all the way up, like probably 16 stairs, right to my bed. To the side of my bed and ate half of it. Next morning I woke up, half the roast was gone and it was bloody trail. I was like,
oh my
it was
God.
a fierce predator.
She had went on a hunt.
I was like, she thought like she gave me the best gift ever, and I was like, no. But she
Because that's what they do. They eat like half of it and then they give it to you.
gave me the other half, and I was like, well, I can't be mad. Like, you were trying to share. But no, she definitely made it for a really great adventure cat. She jumps out and gives us a hard time, but she never like runs off or does anything crazy.
Except today, are they crow or ravens around here? The big giant black.
Yeah, I think they're ravens.
They're ravens.
Yeah,
they will circle a cat. For
yeah, we
sure.
saw it twice.
Which I don't know. Do they eat cats? Like, what do they?
I think they just
doing?
attack them. I feel like they just peck at them and attack them because that's what they were like going. They swooped down like right towards her, like with their claws out, like they were gonna pick her up. And then like I like was like no, you know. And
watch the ravens
off.
if you have cats.
Yeah,
No, I haven't seen
man,
that.
cats beware.
Because we even rescued a cat yesterday at Black's Beach. Just a random cat walking around, had a collar on.
It was like an RV,
but it was getting attacked by the ravens, and we called the guy and picked it up. But.
Van cats at risk.
So talk to me about the right side drive.
Right side drive. So
how's that go?
It's a little weird at first.
Yeah.
It's not so much about how weird it is driving on the right side. It's about how weird it is not driving on the left side.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, that's the real tricky part about it because. You'll get the ghost pedal or the ghost brake.
Oh yeah. You feel responsible.
Exactly. You feel responsible. It's really nice to if there's two people in the van and you pull up to a Taco Bell or something and the person on the left can grab your food and get it all ready for you. You don't have to do anything. Two hands on the wheels whole time.
Smart.
Yeah, so that's really nice.
Yeah, that's cool. And then the funny thing is always like going down the road, you know, and I'll have my feet up or something and people are like scolding us and like, what are you doing? And like
Driving like that.
I'm like, you think I'm driving with my feet?
How do you think the van's moving?
Right,
Like,
exactly.
Our first time in California, like we seriously had just gotten into California in the van, and the state trooper was in a truck, and he was like hauling it beside us, and he gets right beside us and slams on his brakes, and I was like, what the heck? And he's like, he's about to pull us over, and I was like, no way. Sure enough, he pulls us over. Well, he gets out and like walks to what I guess he would assume is the passenger side, which is our driver's side. And he's looking at me in our passenger, aka American driver's side. And he's looking at me and he's like, "What's the deal with the phone?" And I was literally like, "What?" Like just sitting there. And then he literally goes, "Oh, wait." He saw me on my phone and like thought I was the driver, and then he like didn't even register that the steering wheel was right there. So we were like, "Oh, this." He's like, "Y'all enjoy California."
Yeah. Like, see you, dude.
Yeah,
What a trip.
yeah, it's definitely a trip.
When I was 15, I had my learner's permit, and we went to England, and my dad rented a 9-passenger diesel van, and I had never tried to drive stick before, and so I'm on the clutch is on the correct side, the shift is on the stick is on the wrong side, the steering wheel's on the wrong side. I'm supposed to drive down the wrong side of the street, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
It's like it's way too much overload.
It was too much, dude. I kept getting honked at. Because as soon as I would get the thing smoothly moving, I'd be on the wrong side of the street.
You got no stop
and there are
sign.
people like honking horns. Ooh.
Kind of a stop sign on a hill. With the stick.
It was chaos, man.
It's funny though. Our van is also diesel. I don't know if you said that, but yeah, I think that with the vans, especially a small van, I mean, having a diesel engine, because if with a small van, like with the diesel, the weight doesn't matter. And so we built it out with wood, and we have water tank, 15-gallon water tank, huge battery.
But it can totally handle it.
Yeah, I can totally handle it. It doesn't matter. And we still get 25 miles to the gallon.
Wow.
So the diesel for the vans is like, it's a move. You have to spend more money up front on the gas and sometimes, like random upkeep things. But long term, they're lasting so long that you're really getting.
Plus, you're part of the diesel niche. So.
Yeah. Right.
Diesel pride.
Diesel pride. Or people like.
Do you guys have a
Blow
club
smoke.
we don't know about?
Blow
They
smoke.
You're not invited.
I know, they like take you so seriously when you like randomly you'll be like, "Oh, it's a diesel," and then they're like, "Oh," they care
It's like
now.
you in the jacked up truck next to you. Hey, I'm in the Pete van. Like, they're mad at you at first for taking up the diesel lane, and you're like, "Hey, it's diesel. Let's get out of here."
That guy's turned around. He's driving on the wrong side of his van.
Yeah.
Do you drive the van too, or no?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
At first I drove way more. Here lately he's been driving.
I've been scared lately. I'm
Whatever.
paranoid.
How's
he
that?
drives awful. He drives so bad. He
We're
thinks
both.
I drive.
I don't think we built this paranoia about each other until we started driving in the van
on
because
the
it's
wrong
scary
side.
driving on the other or
Seriously.
riding on the other side because
Raises the stakes a little.
well,
Yeah,
the person on the
yeah.
right hand side can't see the oncoming traffic as good as you can.
Oh.
So you're like constantly seeing all of them passing you. You're like, oh.
And you're like, if they hit
merging.
you're hit. You're the person
Oh.
gonna die if you get hit on.
That
What?
literally happened last night. We're driving,
Oh, yeah.
and because it's like the amazing windows, we call it a spaceship all the time because it's like panoramic.
You can see
views,
everything.
Everything. You can
Yeah.
have even the top windows open, and we have no front end because the engine is under our seats.
Uh-huh.
So like we can, if we just barely go like this, you can see the ground like right there. Seriously,
wow.
and so you can just see from there. It's this huge radius,
Uh-huh.
and all of a sudden this like very beautiful, sleek Tesla, which I didn't even think Teslas could get out of the lines, came over, and it was, I'm not joking, I could see the front. It was like this close. And I was like, I literally just could scream. I couldn't do anything else because it was, I could see it so close. So that's like, it freaked me out. And when you're on that side and you're not the wheel and you can't go like
but I didn't
this,
see it at all.
it's terrifying.
Wow.
Like,
If anyone's gonna hit you, you want it to be a Tesla, right?
Yeah.
Expensive ass
Yeah, you got
Tesla.
that insurance, right?
No, not the new
Rich folks.
cheaper ones.
Yeah.
The nice rich ones.
Yeah.
Right. They'll fix it up for
Yeah.
you.
Thanks Tesla.
We
But-
did.
But yeah, it's definitely, like you said, it
Yeah, that's
raises
crazy.
the stakes, and it's like, with that van, it sucks because if anybody did hit us, that's like huge downtime. Because
Yeah.
any parts we
Oh,
need,
sure.
they're
It
taking
takes
2
forever.
weeks.
Yeah,
at
those
least.
people, the insurance company's not gonna have fun either.
Yeah, oh, they're gonna hate
To
us.
ship even just to ship a bumper, to buy it in Japan, $250. To ship it to the US, $1,500.
Wow.
It's like
Sure.
dumb. But it's weird because
Crazy.
you can ship a whole van for $15 to $2,000.
Yeah,
So it's like the same price.
nuts.
I could get a whole new van shipped over.
It's so weird.
ridiculous.
So
So
weird.
and because it's like considered a gray market vehicle, I think a lot of times you get screwed over because they know that that's your only option.
You gotta have it.
You gotta have it. And so it's like they can kind of gouge you. And I think like a lot of resellers of these kind of like Japanese, off-roading vans, I think it is kind of like a price gouging situation because it is super cool. It is super nice. And like there is a lot of pros to it. But the cons are if you have no idea what you're working on, this is an engine that nobody's going to work on hardly. And if they do, they're going to charge you
things we didn't know
$200 an hour.
We had to learn.
Yeah, so it's like there's definitely a market of like scamminess to this, and we've seen that side of it a lot, dealing with trying to get a new engine and everything like that.
There's probably, so far we've only met maybe 4 or 5 people in the U.S. that even know how to work on them.
Right.
Yeah, that actually previously even knew what this van was called.
Right.
Because before, when things would happen, we'd pull up to a shop and they'd be like, "Whoa, what is this?"
And it's like, beep, beep. And you're like, nope.
Yeah, you don't want your mechanic not even knowing what the vehicle is.
Right.
But yeah.
Well, I almost took it. I had seen those Delicas up in Vancouver, and we saw a few of those, and when I saw yours, it looks more similar to that than anything that I know anything about.
Well, it makes total sense because it's that Japanese style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They both still have
they look bouncy and
the front
short.
side is chopped off.
Yeah, they're like, I always say they look like they're going bleep, bloop, bleep, bloop, right down the road. They're like,
So, hopefully this won't sound like a tisk question now that we've had this conversation, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
All right.
What about the future? Like, do you fantasize about being in a different van or building a container home? Have you seen a place that you're like, oh, we want to fucking be here or something like that? Like what?
Is that San Diego?
San Diego's dope. It's ridiculously expensive, but it's rad.
yeah.
Yeah. Have you had any along the way? Have you had any like epiphanies or like fantasies or thoughts or anything?
Well, our biggest thing too is that we're trying to host this first van life festival in Texas, and so that's something we've been dreaming about every day. Like that's what we do right now. That's our biggest hustle. All these other things
trying to set it up.
Yeah.
Setting up the event and getting everything personalized because we want it to be it's a Patchwork Canteen event. So we really want to be able to brand that and for it to be known as just a place where creatives can come and really showcase their skill and whatever
that
it is.
Was in answer to your question, because it was in a place that we did have that feeling. It was in West Texas, and it was a place that we were like, I really think that a lot of people need to experience just being able to go out there because
Where in West Texas? Marfa?
Big Bend. No, not Marfa. Big Bend.
Have you heard of Terlingua?
Terlingua.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just, I don't want to say more interesting, but I prefer it over Marfa. It's just definitely like has more genuine Texas culture still there.
I've never been to Marfa. I just know it's like hipster
it totally is. But we, like out in this place, it's like it is the Big Bend of Texas.
It's just very remote, rugged area.
Cool.
It's what honestly, like when we imagine van life, this is the kind of place that we imagined we would be. Like somewhere that was totally out. And honestly, like, I think the only places I've ever had that feeling was in West Texas, out in Big Bend, and then, like, Montana and Wyoming, and very...
Just quiet places.
In smaller proportions.
Yeah.
But, like, this is, like, on such a large scale because you're going, and seriously, this is the biggest county in Texas with the smallest population, with only 2 officers over the whole thing. So it's like there's not many people at all out there. And so it's really rugged, really off-grid. So when we went out there, it was like... you see all the like westerns in the desert movies. They're so unforgiving, and it's like that's what it is. But at the same time, it's like it blesses you as well. Yeah, it's just a gorgeous place. So we went out there, and there's a property in the place that we're hosting the event at, and when we saw that place, we were just like, this is what we want one day. And it was just this place of like, she rents out different, campers and RVs and Airstreams and has all these things, but it's like super low key. And it's like, if you don't know what you're looking for, you're not going to find it kind of thing. And so when we went out there, we just loved that vibe and that kind of like
it's so quiet. Like whenever you get out there with a group of people, everybody, if you're sitting around the fire, maybe everybody's cooking dinner or cooking breakfast in the morning together, you can just sit and talk and like you can hear each other. You know, everything
There's
else
no
is silent.
outside
Like,
noise.
you know, I could hear someone from even, you know, across the way a little bit.
Yeah, you can sit. She out there at this venue. It's like has 3 mountain peaks, and him and one of our friends are on the top. And I was like at the campsite, which is seriously probably like it's at least 2 or 3 miles to get up there. And so I like heard him talking, and so I was like, "Where is he? Where is he?" I'm not joking. I turned around and looked, and he was at the top of the mountain.
Little dot.
Yeah, a tiny dot. I only saw him because he had a white t-shirt on, and the like the rugged desert. But I was just like, "That's crazy." It's so like just quiet, like you said.
That's the main thing is like kind of what our hopes and I guess dreams are, because everything does tie back into Patchwork Canteen and the brand and like what how we're trying to grow that and to reach people with that. And it's just like bringing people out there that can, you know, experience a place, and especially in Texas, because Texas is underrated right now in the van life community. No, I mean, you don't go to Texas and see tons of Volkswagens hanging out.
Sure.
It's a whole different culture, but the culture that is out there is a little bit rugged and it's a little bit Western. So we want to show them what it's about.
I don't think that we dream about any more vans or even boats or tiny homes or anything, because we just don't think, not that to say that we don't plan ahead, but we don't think that far in the sense of we just like to be more open-minded. So where we're at right now is some place that we never thought we would be when we started van life. Yeah. So we just realized like, hey, you can plan, and that's great to kind of have like your set boundaries, but it was like, nothing that we thought fell into place, like better things did.
But planning stinks because, you know, you plan something and that limits you from maybe another great opportunity.
Right. Yeah,
so it's like, ooh, you know, it's a tricky thing to figure out.
But basically just the way we decided it was just like a project based. So each thing we kind of take it by that. So at first it was the van, and then we built that. Okay, check. What's the next thing we can accomplish? And so it was kind of like, there's an invisible list that we don't know about, and right now we're going down it, and it's kind of like, you know, when you unlock a level and then you're like, okay, now the next thing is this.
Like
so
when does it end? You know, you never know.
Yeah.
You know, what's an ending, you know? And into what?
Yeah. I saw this thing, and it was like that common quote, and it's like, if one door opens, or like if one door closes, another one opens. Yeah. Well, apparently like that's just a fraction of the actual statement, and it was like, but if you're waiting for the door to always open, you won't see the one that opened behind that just you. Opened, yeah, like it was like, if you're waiting for that one, another one may have already opened and you didn't even realize it. So I think that's like the important thing to remember with that is like, hey, there is opportunities. Things aren't going to work out. Sometimes they are, but at the same time, like, be aware of like what's going on, because just because I walked through this door and this is the next one doesn't mean there wasn't one over here that I just had no clue existed. So that's kind of where we kind of take it day by day, not even day by day, week by week, I guess.
And that's the most beautiful thing about it, though. I really get a thrill out of not knowing. Like, that's the main kicker for me.
Yeah.
If it wasn't like that, I wouldn't do it.
It would be a lot more boring. Yeah,
I'd be bored of it. But to not know and to live life the way that I feel it was meant to be lived, that's worth it.
And I think it also allows us to, like, what we said recently, we had this conversation, we were laying and talking, because I think, like, I remember back home, it was like always your friends would call you and be like, hey, this happened, what should I do? Or maybe even you would do it and like call everybody you know and be like, hey, this happened at work, like, I don't know. And you would just tell people like over and over, and you would get everyone's kind of like thoughts on it. And then eventually, like, you're so invaded by everyone else's thoughts, you may not even choose or make a choice that you would have before. But in the
based
van,
on your own opinion. Yeah.
Right. But in the van, you're so isolated, and you're just like what you were saying earlier. It's like you can be an introvert, like you are an extrovert at the same time, but like you can be really in your head, and it's like you have to make these decisions right now. Like, what is it right now?
Right.
Yeah. And I think you stop asking other people and you start learning. And one thing that somebody recently told me, and it blew my mind, it was that there was some like strange, you know, research that showed that most Americans don't deal with daily obstacles. So like everything is so convenient in life now that we've gotten used to not having to deal with struggles. So like, you know, in the van, that's a constant struggle every single day. Where am I sleeping? Where am I eating? Where am I going to the bathroom? Do I have enough food right now? Do I have enough gas if I need to drive here? Like, you have to worry about every little tiny single thing all day long. And you don't think about it. It's not stressing you out. Yeah, it's like totally your normal thing. But it's just like a totally different.
Definitely extra.
Yeah.
More effort.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm thankful for those little new little responsibilities, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like they keep me on my toes a little bit. Put things in perspective. What do you think, bud? Yeah?
Got enough content?
I think so. We don't really edit these. I don't
Slapper.
think anybody said anything super racist.
There you go.
Is there anything burning that we didn't address?
I don't think
You guys
so.
wanna-
Yeah.
Where do you keep your litter box?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I want a van.
Oh,
and
she's
this is
so
always the
absorbed.
question. is
I
where-
saw your van and
where do
I
I
was
keep
like,
the
this
litter
van
box?
is crazy. And then I saw your cat and I was like, Colette's not going to care about this van.
She doesn't care about
Oh,
the
yeah,
cat.
All she
I
cares
bet you
about
would
is the
rather
cat.
have a cat. I was like, there's a cat in here. I need to see the cat. I love cats. And I'm like, gonna convince Marty one day to let me get a cat.
It's really not bad. It's way better than a
it's-
fucking dog.
Uh-huh.
Like, don't get a dog because.
Oh, we already have one of those.
Oh, y'all have a dog?
He's in the other van.
Oh, dang.
It's
Well,
fine.
He's an angel. We love him.
He's a
Okay.
maniac.
The main reason we always support the van cats is because of the litter box situation. So if you're somewhere cold, you don't have to get out to walk them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You just let them
That's
go to
my
the litter
main
box.
thing.
Where does
like-
it live in your van?
So it actually moves around. So
Okay.
it has a lid, and so we can.
It's
actually
literally just
put
a
stuff on top
Tupperware
of it.
box that's like over.
Yeah, it's like
this big.
Sterilite. Yeah, it's like this deep and this big. And I just slide it under the bed with the lid on when we're not using it, and then I put it in the front passenger floorboard when she is using it. So she jumps
Mhm.
down. It's farthest away from the bed possible. We'll close those curtains, and like I just get the odor trapping kind, and so
Yeah,
we just
yeah.
never smell
It's
it.
pretty good. Like, unless she just takes it up right then, it's
Yeah,
fine.
and the heater's on or something.
Yeah.
But you know what? We used to have, and what we're trying to figure out, like
Yeah,
pretty
we're still
soon,
working on it.
We're thinking of a slight modification to add to the build, which would be a top entry litter box, because she used to have that, and I never swept up litter ever, like ever.
Oh, that's clever.
Because when
I
she
never
jumps
had one of
out
those.
and she shakes off,
yeah, you get it
there's
everywhere.
grating and it all goes back down
Yeah.
in the thing. And so she wants to stand there and get it all back in, and so it just doesn't.
Yeah.
So we were thinking about getting another one of those, sliding it under the van, and under the bed, because she actually already can get on the tubs that are in there, and it's the
Mhm.
same size. So I'm like,
Yeah,
we
we gotta
didn't
use
do that before.
because it's like
It takes up
it's not
way
bad,
more
but
space.
she just kicks out a little bit. So every day I have to sweep a little bit
some
out.
Yeah, I
It's
remember
just
that.
annoying
Like,
every day. But
Yeah, it's definitely some sweeping. She doesn't shed that much. Like, there's one area of our van where she goes through the curtains and lays on the inside of the curtain, so there's always hair right there. But like, I don't notice it. I thought I would notice it way more on my clothes
it's
and
better.
everything like
Yeah,
that.
it's better than
But-
we thought it would be.
Yeah, and I think it's because we like roll up our clothes and zip them up and everything. But I don't really see a problem with cat hair, which is nice.
yeah, we're constantly covered in dog hair. So
Constantly.
we'll be okay.
So they
What
wouldn't
is
even
y'all's
make a
dog,
difference.
Dusty?
Yeah.
Or y'all have the husky or the bigger dog that
It's
was
kind of
there?
like a Doberman sort of thing.
Okay. Is he small?
Doberman.
He's about 45 pounds.
Okay.
Really
Medium
long
dog.
legs.
I
Looks
guess
like
we
a
didn't meet him.
baby
I don't
deer.
think we ever met
I don't
him.
think you've met him.
Okay.
Yeah, he's awesome. We left him in the other van. We have the luxury of 2 bedrooms, right?
Nice.
So we left him in the other van because one of the main irritants in the podcast sometimes is if he's jacked up and like ready to whine.
He needs attention.
He just whines and
Yeah.
like
Oh,
shows
okay.
off. And,
Amped up.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That was my question.
We love having him in the van, but it is a lot. I've probably ingested 3 or 4 pounds of his hair in the last
Oh,
year.
gosh.
Wow.
It's like it's always in my
Harder
coffee,
life.
and at this point, I like
Yeah.
don't even care. I'm just like, all right, I'm drinking a
Yeah.
little spin.
It's really only because I do want a dog eventually one day, but it's just the fact that you do have to take them out a lot more.
Well, and the other thing,
You guys are cold.
yeah, we're always freezing.
Oh, see, I don't have that problem.
Really?
Like, yeah.
He likes
Especially here when it's like 50 degrees, I'm stoked.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
no,
it to
we're
be
cool.
like 85 to 90 degrees.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I was like, if it's colder than Texas, it's not right.
Yeah.
Not acceptable.
Yeah.
Like
We're getting
Texas
our
winter.
passports next year, and
Yeah.
I'm just going to drive south until it gets really warm.
Nice.
We'll be good.
Yeah,
Fun.
cool.
Yeah, we just have to see all the states before then.
Yeah.
Is that a goal?
Yeah, we, like, with our van, we kind of said, like, I think a lot of people our age go to Europe and they go to Asia, and that's awesome. And I wish that was me right now, because that'd be super cool. But for us, we were like, we have America, like, that is so underrated and underexplored, and, like,
Yeah.
if we wanted
Check
to
it
be
out,
true
yeah.
world travelers, like, we felt like it was very important to kind of get the American travels under our belt and be able to say, like, when people ask where we were from and it's like, oh, America, and they said the Grand Canyon, like, if you didn't go, you're like, oh, no. So we wanted to really,
we want to
like,
be
establish-
well-traveled.
Yeah,
you know,
well-traveled.
appropriately traveled.
Yeah, right, before we head out. So that was our goal, was, like, with the van, do all the states, maybe go to Hawaii.
But yeah, we don't know how long it'll take. Just, I guess.
Just taking our time doing it, but we
thought it would be, like, more planned, but it's just not, because like we said earlier, let's just allow things to happen, so we'll see how long it takes.
Yeah. I think right now we're at, like, 19 states.
Okay.
So we've seen a good chunk.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a thing that I thought about earlier that I just remembered is, like, people ask you, what are you going to do after van life and all of this, and, like, what's your plan and all of that. Maybe I'm just an asshole, but, like, my reflexive reaction to that is, what are you going to do after the next recession?
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like I know so many people who weren't prepared for it when it happened, and I know no one who knows when it's going to happen next.
Yeah.
You know?
And we talk about it all the time, like, something's going to happen, because things have just been going awesome for so long. Like, that's great. I'm happy for America. You know, things have been going really good. Everybody's comfortable, but, you know, no one's really hurting so much, but...
And if you pull into Arizona next month and you run out of money, it doesn't mean you're dead. You know what I mean? You just find some money in Arizona.
Yeah.
You know? It's like people have been doing this forever, since before money.
Right,
know? So,
exactly. And I think there's also, like, there's something more than just, like, money. Now, you need money to fill up your gas tank and to buy your groceries and all that stuff, but there's also this thing of, like, when you're doing the right thing, a lot of times good things just happen. Like, randomly we're at a library in Austin, Texas, and this old man decides to start chatting with us about the van and his old times, and it, you know, it was a point where we were, like, having to work really hard to, like, get everything that we needed and to pay for everything, and he randomly ended up talking to us for, like, an hour, and at the end of it, like, refused to walk away until I took a $20 bill from him, because he was like, I don't want y'all to have to pull all your kitchen gear out tonight. Like, I've kept y'all for an hour. And so it's just like random things have happened along our journey with the van, and I think it brought out, like, us realizing, like, there's actually good people in the world.
Yeah.
And everybody tells you, like, oh, it's not safe, or they're so terrified. But we've had so many, like, positive, great things happen to us, because the van is kind of like that icebreaker, and they kind of walk up, and then it just initiates this whole thing. So it's like a lot of good things also happen. Like, you know, you could have the stigma of all of the homeless stigma of being in a van, or maybe just the bum, or if you're not a rock climber or a surfer or something, like, why are you even in a van? You know, there's people like that. But it's just like, there actually is a ton of people who love it, or they respect it because they were too afraid to do it themselves.
People really respond positively. A lot of people really respond positively to vulnerability and humility, you know? Yeah. And I feel like if you have those, and you kind of have to willfully walk into a lifestyle that's stigmatized, then, yeah, you're going to run into people, and it's not everybody, you know, but you're going to run into people who are ready to, like, try to figure out how they can help you. So,
Right.
It's really neat.
Yeah, it's a lucky thing.
Cool. Well, what's your Instagram?
So our Instagram is at Patchwork Canteen. So it's both of us, and we post all our cute pics of the van.
Nice. Nice. Cool.
Van pics, couple pics.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the thing.
Yeah,
it's been a good time.
The pod.
From the van.
I gotta pee.
That's the common thing.
Get the bottle out.
All right, guys, we did it. That's a super fun, very natural conversation. These guys are doing it, and I think they're going to keep doing it, and I'm proud of them. And I'm proud of you. Thank you so much for sticking around if you've made it this far in the episode. I appreciate you. And you know what's going to happen next Tuesday? You do. It's another episode of From the Van.